Shalom Aleichem everyone, it's Erev Shabbos, Parshat Behar and Bechukotai, a double Parsha this week, a week of Chazak V'nis Chazek. And before I start with the Dvar Torah, I just wanted to share with you, first of all, a very special thank you to everyone. So many of you reached out to me, whether it was by text, whether it was by phone call, when I was sitting Shiva, the days after the Shiva. And I really felt really a real connection to what I'll call the Mevaseret family, and those that expressed their concerns, their nuchim avelim, their condolences. So first of all, a tremendous sense of hakaras hatov to everyone who reached out, and it's very, very much appreciated. Really does supply me with a real sense of nechama. I just want to share again the feeling of a person, sitting Shiva and now in the midst of Shloshim. And just to share with you a little bit of kind of what I'm going through, and perhaps tie it into a thought or two on the Parsha. So in the Shiva period, I was sitting for the first couple of days of Shiva with my siblings, with my brother and my sister and my father. And that was one phase of Shiva, and there was a lot of people in the house for sure, a lot of people taking care of us, tremendous amounts of chasadim were being done, and a lot of kind of reminiscing about my mother, stories about my mother, people from the past who I haven't seen in 25, 30, 35 years, and a lot of kind of those connections. And that, after my siblings left on Motzei Shabbos, that process continued. It was just me and my father, and very much focused in a very real way on my mother's life. And that's really what the Shiva experience was for me, reminiscing, hearing stories. One of the most moving things that happened for me during Shiva was when my mother's manicurists came in to make a Shiva call and express how much they felt the loss. Just regular Russian Israeli women, which was very, very touching to me. And that was the process of Shiva. I find myself in the period of Shloshim now, and there are a lot of halachos and nihugim that we experience during Shloshim. A person's not allowed to shave during Shloshim. The whole world got their opportunities to shave, take haircuts. Lag BaOmer, I find myself still in a state of being unkempt. You're supposed to minimize like the 9 days in terms of bathing, their halachos, cutting fingernails, their halachos, and then something that kind of dominates. You're not allowed to wear fresh clothing, so you have to do things to make clothing less fresh when you put them on. A lot of dinim that apply during the period of the Shloshim, and moreover, you have the phenomena that sons, on behalf of the who lose parents, the being chiyuvim when it comes to tefillos, the kadeshim, and what all of that does is it really creates. As I started to emerge, I went back to work, back to yeshiva, back to my more or less regular routine, but at the same time you feel a certain sense of physical discomfort, a certain sense of physical dishevelment, and then this constant, what I will call a responsibility, and something that's always on your mind, especially when it comes to getting to yeshiva in the morning with all the traffic that we often experience, getting to minyanim on time, making sure you're there for the first kadeshim, making sure you're there for the amud, getting the amud. It is a constant, I don't mean the word stress, but it's there. It's always on your mind. And I think that's supposed to be that way. You feel a certain sense of, you're not fully yourself. There's a certain sense of imbalance, a certain sense of lack of equilibrium, always on the clock, always worrying about that kaddish, about that minyan, which creates a situation where there's never a hesach hadas, from the state of avelus. And at the end of the day, why I experience this avelus, why losing my mother, that sense of avelus, and it's a very, very real type of feeling, imbalance, lack of equilibrium, lack of structure, and then a constant awareness, a constant stress, which I think is exactly what Chazal wanted. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. We shouldn't be having a hesach hadas, even as we go back to our normal routines, back to work, not to have a hesach hadas from the nifteres, not to have a hesach hadas. Life is not back to normal. In fact, when I was sitting Shiva, someone mentioned a minhag that they had, that even though the minhag is to light a ner neshama, a yisker candle for the entire week of Shiva, but to continue doing that even during the period of Shloshim, as you go back to normal, having that candle there, always reminding you, never having that hesach hadas and the nihugim, at least that men experience in the process of Shloshim, and I imagine Shana, the first year as well, is you never can be fully groomed properly, not going to simchas, not experiencing Lag BaOmer with my family as they were celebrating. All of that creates a certain sense of non-normalcy, lack of normalcy, lack of equilibrium is exactly what it's supposed to be. And perhaps that ties in to a thought, two ideas that come from these parshas, Behar, Bechukotai. First of all, is a very, very unbelievable sforno. Very struck by this sforno. The sforno is found in Parshas Behar. And we're told as we discuss the halachos of Shemitah, so there is a bit of a concern, because you're not going to work on that 7th year. You're going to follow all the halachos, and somehow the Torah tells us a bracha, everything is going to be fine. You're going to be fine. V'yeshavtem al haaretz lavetach. You'll be secure, everything's good, everything's fine. And then the Torah tells us, Perchav Hey, Pasuk Yutes, V'nosna haaretz piryah, the land is going to produce its fruit, V'achaltem lasova, and you'll have plenty, don't worry. V'yeshavtem lavetach aleha, and you'll sit with security on your land. V'chitomru, and if you'll ask, Ma nochal b'shana hashvius, what are we going to eat on this 7th year? After all, we haven't planted, we haven't gathered tfuah, how's it going to be? And the Torah tells us a tremendous bracha, V'tzivisi es birchasi lachem, b'shana hashishis v'asas hatfuah l'shlosh hashanim. So there's going to be a bracha. If you'll ask, how in the world am I going to survive? Impossible. How am I going to make it? Says the Torah, don't worry, in the Shana Hashishis, in the 6th year, the last year you work in the land, you'll get a triple bracha. You'll have enough food for that year, for the Shemitah year, and then for the residual, for the first year in the next cycle, you'll be good to go. That's the psukim on a Parshat level. It sounds, as you read the psukim though, the Torah tells us a havtacha. You'll sit securely. V'yeshavtem lavetach. The land will produce its peiros, and you'll be fine. And then there'll be those, if you will, naysayers. Those people that have their doubts. V'chitomru, and they're going to say, Manocha, what are we going to eat? How is it possible? How in the world does this work? And then the Torah says, yes, there'll be a bracha of Shalosh Shadim. Says the Sforno on Pasuk Yutes. V'chitomru manochal v'kasher yusupak ze'etzlechem. When you have that suffix, v'lo tivtechu, and you don't have that sense of emunah, shia hama'at maspik bechuto, that a little bit is gonna last you, then you're gonna get this bracha. In other words, it doesn't sound like this bracha was universal. Some people needed the bracha. They didn't have that confidence. So Hashem says, you have doubts, you have issues, you have problems, you have a little bit of an issue with your emunah, don't worry. When you start to kvetch, I'll take care of it. But it sounds from the Sforno that there are people who didn't kvetch. There are people who understood this is the way it's going to be, and this is the way it is, and I'm going to deal, and it'll be okay. And those people did not need this bracha of plenty. Because indeed, yeah, we're not going to work the 7th year, and don't worry, Hashem's got our back, it's going to be okay. They didn't need this overwhelming sense of bracha because it'll be okay. I'll deal, we'll deal, Hashem will deal, it'll take care of itself. A certain sense of menuchas hanefesh, of being relaxed, it'll work out. And that is quite striking. You find this idea echoed a little bit later in the beginning of our Parshat Bechukotai. When you keep Torah mitzvahs, when you do everything you're supposed to do, the Torah tells us, you get brachos. And one of the brachos is Pasuk Hey in the beginning of Bechukotai. Ve'achaltem lachmechem lasova. You will have lechem lasova. You'll be satisfied with your lechem. V'yeshavtem levetach ba'artzachem. Says Rashi, what does it mean? V'achaltem lachmechem lasova. Ochel kimo. You'll have a little bit. V'hu mitzbarech b'me'av. And it'll be enough. It'll be blessed in your digestive system. So comes along the Torah in these two places and tells us, if you have a sense of bitachon, you have confidence that the Ribono Shalom has your back, things are as they're supposed to be, then even if al pi the normal derech hateva, you eat a little, I should be hungry. You're not working the 7th year, there should be problems. But you know what? If you have that sense, we'll deal. It'll be okay. Hashem will take care of us. We'll manage. All of a sudden, you know what happens? You do manage. It does work out. You'll have the siyata d'shmaya. You'll make it work out. It will work out. And that's the bracha for those who have the bitachon, who have that sense of emunah, who do rely, and who are a little more even keel. They'll have the bracha of managing through the Shemitah cycles without a problem. They'll have the bracha when they're doing the mitzvahs that v'achaltem lachmachem lasova. And that is a very, very fundamental concept and mussar when things in life don't go your way. When you're sitting Shiva, when you're sitting in Shloshim, when life is throwing you those curveballs, when life gets stressful, some people really get overwhelmed. And it's normal. It's normal. It's a very normal reaction. And then some people have kind of, things are not going as I would like. Things are fragile. Things lack that sense of consistency. I'm not in control. And how we navigate those situations, which will happen, that's what life is all about, really dictates the kind of sense of emunah on the one hand, bitachon, but also that even keel that I can deal, I'll manage, it will work out. We'll deal, and then you don't need supernatural things. It does work out. A person who's satisfied with a little less, he'll manage fine. A person who eats a little, his stomach will get full. A person who navigates, we're not working Shemitah, but I have bitachon, things will work out. There's a plan, there's a vision, there's an approach. And as I find myself in this situation, which is a sad situation, where I'm reminded of the sadness on a daily level, and there's stress and a lack of comfort, a sense of lack of equilibrium, but also a vision that there's a certain constancy, there's a certain plan, there's a certain, now we have these new challenges to deal with, new opportunities. The challenges represent opportunities. And I'm reminded, I just want to close with what I think is an absolutely beautiful medrash. And it relates to our relationship to Torah, and perhaps even when we hit those peaks and valleys and those bumps in the road when life does get tough, life does get difficult, and we have unique and really challenging times. So it's a beautiful, beautiful medrash. The beginning of the Parshat Bechukotai, we're told, Ve'im Bechukotai telechu ve'es shapsosai tishmo, and Rashi famously says, Im Bechukotai telechu is contrasting ve'es mitzvosai tishmoru. Mitzvos, What is chukosai telechu? I will walk with the chukim. Rashi says, Shetehei, quoting the Medrash, Amelim baTorah. We should be toiling in Torah. But the Medrash in Midrash Rabbah focuses on one of those words. What does it mean, Im Bechukosai telechu? What does it mean, the telechu? Quotes the Medrash, where David HaMelech has the following dialogue with Hashem. It's quoting a pasuk in Tehillim, in that long kapitel Tehillim Kuf Yutes, where we're told, Chishafti drachai va'ashiva raglai el edosecha. I thought about my derech. This is David HaMelech speaking. I thought about my derech. I thought about my life, and va'ashiva ragli, and my legs returned el edosecha. Say Chazal. Amar David, Ribona shel olam, bechol yom v'yom hayiti mechashev. Every day I would think about my schedule, my calendar, what my mission was for that day. Ve'omer, and my calendar said, L'makom ploni, I gotta be at this place. Ulebeis dir plonis, I have to go to this meeting, this issue, that war, that problem. I have all these places that I have to be as the king of the Jewish people. And what ended up happening, I have all these things on my calendar. V'hayu ragli mevios osi lebate knesios ulebate midrashot. And my legs carried me to the Beit HaKnesset, to the Beis HaMedrash. All these things cluttering my life, says David HaMelech. All these things on my mind. All these things that I have to deal with, that are on my calendar. That's the pasuk. The Ashiva Ragli, but nevertheless my legs brought me to the Beit Knesset, to the Beis HaMedrash. And I believe what Chazal are telling us is something very, very important. Im bechukosai telechu, is we have very, very busy lives, involved in many, many different things, and sometimes those things, aspects of life, tragedies, business issues, parnasa challenges, shalom bayis issues, they throw us curveballs. We're constantly being thrown curveballs. And the question is, how do we deal with those situations, and where do we get our strength from? So David HaMelech was a very busy man, much busier than any of us. He had a full calendar from early in the morning till he got up, Chatzos Halayla. Very busy, very, very busy. But nevertheless, his instinctual gait was towards the Beis HaKnesses, towards the Beis HaMedrash. That's where his legs took him. Now, does that mean he didn't hit those appointments? No, he hit all those appointments. I'm sure he did. But the constancy, the equilibrium of his life came from in Bechukotai Telechu. While he was walking in all those endeavors, all those areas of life, he got his strength, his equilibrium, his sense of balance from the daily visits to the Beit Knesset, to the Beis HaMedrash. And perhaps that is the message, the ultimate message of in Bechukotai Telechu, is as we hit life's challenges, its ups and downs, to have that sense of anchor, to have that sense of connection, to have that sense of balance, of constancy. And when we do, we build our kesher with the Ribono Shalom, with Hashem. And then when we have these curveballs, we can handle them. We can handle them with a sense of, okay, there's a plan, there's a purpose, and I'll get through, I'll manage. And that sense of shalva, of shalom, of peace, of wholeness with it, perhaps is the greatest bracha of all. And may we zoche to have that bracha of managing the tough times and certainly relishing the good times. And Bez Hashem will have that bracha of Yeshaftem Ba'aretz Lavetach.